And we are not saying give them to us. We are saying give them self-determination. So there's a distinction between these 2 points of view. You're saying we're asking for it. No, you're saying you give them their right because you claim you are the largest democracy in the world. India has a population of 1,100 million people. Yes, indeed, it is the largest democracy in the world. Why can't it recognize the vote of self-determination for 10 million people?
So that is a self-determination.
Which is,
how do you explain people voting to elect an Indian government on their own volition? Despite the threat from the Pakistani-sponsored militant groups, in 2008, the voter turnout was 55%. In some areas of Kashmir, it was close to 70%. It was unprecedented.
In 1989, it was 0.2%.
Do both groups have an interest in it appears in both your talks that there's an interest in decreasing the terrorism on both sides. But at the same time, I'm hearing that it doesn't seem like there's communication in that capacity.
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, it's very interesting. I'm glad you asked this question. Actually, whatever cross-border happens here, for us it is militancy. For India it is militancy. For Pakistan it is freedom movement. Whatever happens here in the rest of the border, across the border, that we both agree is cross-border terrorism. If it happens from India,
and none of the terrorism is in any capacity government associated, sponsored.
In Kashmir or in the rest of India?
I would say both.
Well, again, in India, no. In Kashmir, again, as I said, in Pakistan, undeniably agrees that that is a freedom movement. Just like the freedom movement by the Americans, just like the freedom movement in Kosovo, just like the freedom movement in East Timor, just like the freedom movement in any other country.
Yeah,
it's
but
a freedom movement,
we
not
can't
terrorism.
waterboard people without getting in trouble.
And we will withdraw all of our support to militancy or terrorism or freedom fighting, whatever you call it, from those people if they are given the right of self-vote. So tell me, is this terrorism, asking for people for self-vote?
If you're blowing innocent people up,
I will show these pictures.
This is, again,
for us, militancy, killing innocent life is not freedom fighting. But India's freedom fighters, they didn't go about killing innocent people. Their fight was against the British.
They never supported
the Naxalites.
Yeah. Okay,
till today, their policy is not to kill innocent people.
Just one quick question, though.
Yeah.
It seems to me that there are 2 separate issues here. One is who has possession, if you want to call it that, of Kashmir. And then the other one, which seems to be more immediate, at least in my eyes, is terrorism. Would India and Pakistan agree to put aside the issue of Kashmir, until there's some kind of joint strategy to counter terrorism to avoid that conflict to turn into a nuclear war, potentially? I mean, it's very unlikely, but it seems to me that terrorism is a more immediate issue. But would you guys be willing to not talk at all about Kashmir?
We believe that terrorism will stop if Pakistan gives up its claim to Kashmir. Kashmir and terrorism are interlinked. The reason, so we cannot expect terrorism to stop and Kashmir to continue, the Kashmir issue to continue to burn. Both will have to be addressed. If terrorism has to stop, Pakistan has to give up its imaginary claim on Kashmir.
Okay, definitely both have to be addressed, but is the timing of when one is addressed and when the other is addressed, do they have to be synchronized?
We don't have a control. India does not have a control on how Pakistan controls its militants inside its border. We can't enter into Pakistan and start fighting the militants there. As far as we are concerned, we have seen a huge number of attacks over the last several years. And the Indian patience is just wearing thin. The reality is, nuclear powers or not, one more attack, we could see a 5th war. May not be a nuclear war, it could be a conventional war, but we will see a 5th war.
How would you respond to that in terms of
I agree to his, partially to his point of view, that we cannot say that whatever is going on in Kashmir, let's forget about it, because from our perspective, that is freedom movement, from their perspective, it is terrorism, whereas whatever goes on in the rest of the India, that is terrorism. So yes, he's right, Kashmir and terrorism is interlinked. Which brings me back to my point, that if we have to talk, you have to talk about Kashmir. You can't say, you can't talk about Kashmir. We will not give up our right on Kashmir. We cannot. So
Pakistan does not have a right on Kashmir. If Pakistan has a right on Kashmir,
we don't.
India has a right on Punjab.
We Pakistani Punjab. We don't have a right on Kashmir, but we do have a right to ask for right of self-determination for them.
So India could very well say that India has a right to ask for self-determination in Pakistani Punjab, which has the
Not
largest,
Punjab. Again, I said
which has the largest enormous slave population in
No,
Pakistan.
Sree, if we have to solve this problem,
Yeah.
we have to confine ourselves to Kashmir, not rest of the 501 states. Not to that.
As far
Let's
as we
confine
are,
it.
no, as far as we are concerned, Kashmir is an internal issue, and Pakistan has no right to
37% of
interfere.
Kashmir we have, 43% of Kashmir you have. Let us both hold plebiscite over here.
You
Why?
took 33% by force, and the reason why you mentioned a couple of times that UN went to India went to UN.
Security Council.
India went to UN after Pakistan attacked India and Kashmir in 1947.
So this
The war started in the second half of 1947. It was a pretty rudimentary war, or unofficial war at that point, but it went on for nearly 15, 16 months. And India had to go for a UN resolution. Because at the time India was young.
So was Pakistan.
Yes, but I'm speaking from
Just one day older than you.
I'm speaking from Indian point. Well,
So what you're practically saying is, like Cuba decides to go to war with America over and over again. No, small countries don't go to war with big countries. We don't. We've never decided to initiate a war. But again, let's not go into discussion who started a war.
Let's hear from does India have a BATNA or Pakistan? Because I just see, all right, either India gives it up.
Let's talk about the data without this image, because again, we also have images, you know.
Let's brainstorm this a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I think it's a good time. So let me put this one back up here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.